Live.
Yes, we're live? All right, and we're back with another Mary True Talks. I am your host, Marianne. This is the MTT Show. Tonight we are having, what are we having tonight?
Whiskey.
Some whiskey, some, what is it called? Some Tennessee, what is it called?
Old Smoky.
Old Smoky.
Salty caramel.
Which is a Tennessee whiskey. It's amazing for those of you who like whiskey, scotch, bourbon, all that good stuff. Okay, so before we begin, thank you, those who support, those who hate. I love you all so much. Thanks to you guys, we have hit 500 subs and counting. We're at 520, I think, right now. So help us grow the channel. Click that subscribe button. It only takes a couple of seconds. Click that little bell. That way it helps you get notified as to when we are live and when we drop videos. And like and share. Share with your friends. This is a different perspective. This is not a Tucker Carlson perspective or a Candace Owens or a Nick Fuentes. This is a Marianne perspective. So, and what makes me different from all of them is that I'm an immigrant. So there's that. So let's begin. I have a lot of stories to talk to you guys about because last week I couldn't go live neither Saturday or Sunday because we had a power outage in the area. Xfinity, you're not doing your job. All right. So you need to do better. So let's, we have like over 10 stories. So we're going to be here a while. So sit back, relax, grab a beer or wine, whiskey, whatever, water if you don't drink, smoke, whatever you do, sit down, relax, because it's going to be a long show today. So let's start with Democrats release new pictures of Trump with woman in Epstein files. TPUSA event. A little bit happened there, a little bit of friction, a little tension. We'll talk about it. The Charlie Kirk killer trial will be televised, maybe. We'll find out. I think it will be. White House alleges Democrat Congresswoman committed immigration fraud. I wonder who that is. We'll find out. Fraud investigation continues. Sydney, Australia, terrorist attack by Islam. That was a very unfortunate event that happened, and we'll talk about that. Trump states Venezuela will have land strikes, and we will retaliate against ISIS after the attack on U.S. soldiers in Syria. D.C. chief police resigns. I wonder why. We're going to find... That one's funny. We're gonna... I only saw a little bit of it. The way I can actually react with you guys. Democrat wins Miami. We're not very happy about that, but it is what it is. Republicans pass a bill to ban transgender surgeries on minors. And then I have a little bit of insight at the end of the show, so stay tuned till the end. Now let's begin, shall we? Democrat released new pictures. I did not get my glasses, so I'm just going to see everything, with my ears, not my eyes. I'm ready.
Department has finally released some of the highly anticipated Epstein files. More than 300,000 pages of documents related to the late convicted sex offender were made public today. They include photos, flight logs, grand jury testimony, and a lot of heavy redactions.
As I told you guys what's going to happen.
Michael Jackson with Epstein. And this dinner photo showing Mick Jagger and former President Bill Clinton together. News Nation is digging through the documents. We'll give you the latest breaking news as we find it. But if you think this means it's now case closed, think again. The DOJ was under orders by law to release all the Epstein files by midnight tonight. And even though the DOJ released 300,000 files today, Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche said there are at least a few 100,000 more that have still not been released. Blanche says the DOJ needs more time to make redactions to protect victims. He says the rest of the files will be released on a rolling basis over the next few weeks. Some lawmakers say that violates the law that was signed by President Trump 30 days ago. So now some top Democrats, including Senator Chuck Schumer, are threatening serious legal consequences. Let's go right now to News Nation's Joe Khalil.
We should
live
give you
for us on
serious
Capitol Hill. Joe,
consequences for
what
shutting
you're
down the
learning and what
government for over 30
Democrats
days.
are threatening.
So first, I think we just have to say, and you set it up well, there are two real storylines here. One is what is in these files that we can see and that we can actually learn. We're going to get on that first. There's also the story about what is not in these files, or what is heavily redacted, because that is also sparking a nerve. When it comes to what's in these files, we've seen dozens of new photos we haven't seen before of Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell with very high-profile people, celebrities, people like Mick Jagger and Michael Jackson, like you showed, also like British royalty and actors. All of that we sort of knew was happening. I want to highlight specifically two for the public interest, and that is President Clinton and President Trump in these files. We've got new images now, some showing President Clinton in a pool with Ghislaine Maxwell and a person who is redacted. Now, we know some of the redactions are because people are underage or because people are victims. We don't know anything about these people in these specific photos.
Which are the people want to know about.
This is getting a lot of attention here.
This
then
is such
President Trump. You
such
see
a joke.
pictures of what look like a drawer with several photos in them of President Trump before he was president, younger version of himself, and several women there, as you see, some of them not wearing a whole lot of clothing. President Trump is also referenced several times in flight logs, and in some cases, even with his former wife, Marla, and his daughter, Tiffany, who would have been a child at the time, and a nanny traveling along with Epstein that were in these files. Beyond that, there is a lot of material in here that is just uncomfortable, sadly, as we might expect. There's pornographic material, magazines, that type of thing, sex toys, images like that. There are also a lot of references to massages. There is a Massage for Dummies book that was highlighted here that our team found. There was also a letter handwritten talking about a younger girl who was an artist, and she took pictures of her two sisters, 16 years old and 12 years old, that Jeffrey Epstein apparently stole, according to this note, and then threatened to burn the girl's house down if she told that Jeffrey Epstein had stolen these pictures and had given them to clients, as it says in the note. So just a lot of really disturbing things. Congressman Ro Khanna today, who was one of the driving forces behind releasing these photos, has been in touch with the Epstein victims and survivors for quite some time. He talked about what they want to see out of these documents and what they want to come out of this release. This is what he said earlier today.
From the survivors who I've talked to, they are appreciative that finally they're being heard, they're being seen, and documents are coming out.
Yep, thanks to this administration.
What they care most about is that the documents come out that expose the rich and powerful men who either raped them, abused them, or were at these sex parties watching them be abused.
And Elizabeth, just want to mention, there are whole sections that are completely redacted.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Grand jury report. Presumably, there would be a lot of interesting and important information in there. 119 pages, literally every page of that blacked out, redacted.
Yep,
and there are
as
several
I said exactly
like
was
that.
going to happen.
So again,
all right, we're
people
done.
are
We get it.
expressing
Everything's
some
redacted.
frustration.
Everything that's been released is redacted. Everything that's going to be released is redacted. And everything is going to be redacted. And we're not going to really know anything. And at the end of the day, you're not going to be satisfied. And that's just what it is. But that's what it comes down to. It is unfortunate, but it is reality. And we are living in reality. We're not living in a narrative or La La Land or whatever, whatever you want to believe. I know a lot of Christians don't think that it's okay for these men that are very powerful, that committed these disgusting acts, to get away. But unfortunately, in a world like this one, where we are in a fallen world, where there are bad people living among us, we cannot always think about what is good or what is goodwill for everybody or for all. Because what could be good for everybody long term might not be the best choice. So, unfortunately, if by any chance not letting these powerful people be exposed could actually be somehow helping us in the future. I don't know how. I'm just saying, if that's the case, then that's probably going to be the route that they will take if that's the case. But the leverage that you must have to know that you have powerful people that are compromised, you can do a lot with that leverage. And I've said this before and I'll say it again, even if it's not what Christians or Catholics or even atheists who just don't agree that these people should be freed and should not face justice, if using the information against them to get them to do what you want, in my opinion, is better for the country long term than anybody intelligent would choose that as their option. That will be the latter, not what's good for the greater good. What's good for the greater good is always a short-term fix. It's what feels good in the moment, but long-term, is it the right choice? And that's really what it comes down to. We can't always think about what's good in the moment. We have to think about what is going to benefit us long-term, and perhaps knowing who these men are, or women, because it can be women too that are powerful and disgusting, having information against them and using it in our favor long term is going to be way more beneficial to the country. As messed up as that may sound to you, at the end of the day, if you're a leader, you have to be cold and you have to think about what's good for the country long term, not what feels good in the moment. And I don't own a corporation. I own a very small business. It is a two-man show between me and my partner, and that is the way we think. We have to think long term. Anybody who wants a goal or is goal-oriented or is driven by a mission, you have to think long term. And thinking long term means sacrificing what feels good right now. So that's all I have to say about that. And I will continue to say that like a broken record player, because like I've said before, and I'll say it again, you're not going to get anything from these files. Nothing that you already don't know. So I could be wrong, but I doubt I will be. So let's talk about TPUSA. That event is ongoing. It's an event that Charlie Kirk created, and it's blown up even after his death. And something happened at that event recently with Ben Shapiro and Tucker Carlson. Let's take a look at that.
Candace Owens decides to spend every day since the murder of Charlie Kirk So, if Candace Owens decides to spend every day since the murder of Charlie Kirk casting aspersions at TPUSA and the people who work here, who worked with Charlie every single day, his best friends, to cast aspersions at Mikey McCoy and Andrew Colvin and Blake Neff and Tyler Boyer, and yes, at Erica Kirk, and to imply or outright claim complicity in a cover-up over Charlie's murder, to spew absolutely baseless trash implicating everyone from French intelligence to Mossad to members of TPUSA in Charlie's murder or a cover-up in that murder, then we, as people with a microphone, have a moral obligation to call that out by name. And the people who refuse to condemn Candace's truly vicious attacks, and some of them are speaking here, are guilty of cowardice. Tucker Carlson, it is not an excuse to go silent on Candace's targeting of TPUSA. Or to mirror her bullshit lines of questioning because you love Candace personally. The same holds true of Megyn Kelly, a person I consider a friend, characterizing Candace as a young mother and thus shying away from condemning her actions or fibbing about them. That is a non-starter. Meghan Markle is a young mother. Ilhan Omar is a young mother. That doesn't matter. And when Megyn said this week, quote, "My goal and my job here is to try to understand, yes, where Candace is coming from on this," and says she sees no purpose in inserting herself, quote, "into this on one side," that is a moral and logical absurdity. There is only one moral side here, Erica Kirk's side. We have a duty to take responsibility for what we say and do. If we hire awful people, we're responsible for that. I have some experience there, as you might suspect.
Ooh.
That means that if we offer a guest for your viewing, we owe it to you to ask the kinds of questions that actually get at the truth. If we agree with the guest, that's fine, but we should own it. So, for example, if you host a Hitler apologist, Nazi-loving, anti-American piece of refuse like Nick Fuentes,
Oh, man.
you know, the Nick Fuentes who said that the Vice President of the United States is a, quote, "fat gay race traitor married to a Jeet." The person who said that Charlie Kirk was a, quote, "retarded idiot." The person who said, and pardon my language here, it's his quote, that he, quote, "took Turning Point USA and fucked it, and that's why it's filled with groypers." If you have that person on your show and you proceed to glaze him, you ought to own it.
All right, that's it. You guys can watch the rest of that on your own, but you get the point. All right, so I'm not like a big Ben Shapiro fan. He's a little too logical for me, but I do agree with him here. I definitely agree with him here. Because even though Charlie Kirk was the type of person that would want to talk to somebody who has an opposing view, he still had a boundary. You know, just because you're willing to talk to people, it doesn't mean that you have zero boundaries. And that's something that I'm learning myself. But when you talk to Nick Fuentes, for example, Piers Morgan did a pretty good job. I mean, he could have done better, but he did a good job at kind of pushing back on Nick Fuentes. Steven Crowder, same thing. He did a good job at pushing back on Nick Fuentes. Steven Crowder actually did better than Piers Morgan, but Tucker Carlson didn't push back at all. And Candace Owens, I don't really know what that was about. I thought it was funny. I think maybe he was trolling her most of the time. But I personally think that if you're going to have somebody you don't agree with on your show, there needs to be a level of respect. And let's say there isn't a level of respect, you need to push back when needed. Because the whole point of having somebody with an opposing view on your show is to get the audience to see the other side, and they get to make a decision on what side makes more sense to them. And that's really the whole point. But it doesn't mean you accept everybody. You don't. There's a boundary. There should be boundaries. And Tucker Carlson has this perspective of like, oh, you know, that's cancel culture. No, it's not cancel culture. It's just if I don't feel that you are respecting me, why should I have you on my show? That's not cancel culture. That's respect. And there needs to be a line of respect. We can have opposing views and respect each other's views. So if Charlie Kirk never had a conversation with Nick Fuentes, there was probably a reason for that. So now that Charlie Kirk is gone, which in many people's opinions was the glue to the America First movement, he is gone. There is no glue. So now all these egomaniacs are just trying to see who has the louder voice. That way they can lead like the ship, because they're very well aware that come midterms, you can't rely on Trump to win. You have to win off of policy, because Democrats are always going to go, all they have right now is affordability, even though they didn't talk about that during Biden's time, and personality. It's always a personality contest with Democrats. And a lot of like words that don't really have any context or substance. The Republicans actually have to have a clear, definitive message as to why we want to continue having them in power. Especially because Trump is not going to be on the ballot in 2028. So they cannot continue relying on Trump as a means to an end. Because Trump is not going to be our president. afterwards. I know people swore that, he was going to run for a third term, but he was trolling, and many people don't understand what trolling even is. So to me, this infighting needs to stop, and there needs to be respect. And if you guys are going to push back on each other, there needs to be actual conversation, not just one person goes and talks smack and then the other person comes in, does a speech and talks smack. It's okay, how about you both sit down together and hash it out, because we have a midterm to win. And I feel like maybe they're not forgetting that, maybe they're aware of that. I'm assuming they are aware of it because they have more time to think about it than we do, regular people. But it doesn't seem like they're aware of it because there's so much infighting going on. So that's my opinion on that. But I think there's another link here. Oh yeah, that's Candace Owens and Piers Morgan. Let's take a look at that. Oh no, it's Tim Pool. Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay, let's take a look at that.
And the most damaging thing done, of course, was the murder of Charlie Kirk. And now the second most damaging thing we're looking at is Candace Owens burning down everything he built, and now having the gall to go after his grieving widow and his children, indirectly threatening their livelihoods, what Charlie built. It's a bridge too far. She's said many things that were increasingly, let's just call it, unhinged. And then finally one day she said, pull your donations from this godforsaken organization, with a direct implication in her post saying that Charlie Kirk was betrayed by Turning Point USA, even saying in one clip that his friends would have had to have signed off on his murder. It seems like there is no depth too deep and no bridge too far for her to benefit her career and her show. She would even go after those who loved Charlie the most. And I have no problem with people questioning the official government narrative or what the FBI thinks, but claiming there's Egyptian planes flying around in Utah time, which he was incorrect about, claiming that these planes are landing at airports or black SUVs are pulling into federal buildings where it just so happens her lawyers also work, it has just come to the realm of nonsense. The U.S. military, she claims, is now involved in his murder. She has turned the very tragic murder of Charlie Kirk, and she has turned this political movement into a reality drama, true crime show, where she treats us all like characters in a fictional show. And, I think it's just gone too far.
All right. So I saw the whole interview of Piers Morgan and Candace Owens, and this is my conclusion to how she is. From what I saw, I don't watch her stuff. I don't like the way I don't like her show personally. I don't like an ongoing of things. If I'm going to watch something, it's going to be a podcast of different people having a conversation, and you're going from one story to the other, and you're having an opinion on different stories. I don't want a fixed story, like if it's a series and I'm just watching a new episode of the same series. For that, I just watch Netflix or something. But whatever, everybody has their own thing. If you like watching Candace and whatever, it is what it is. But I saw the way she is doing this. It seems like her operation, her MO, is she gives you a lot of options, a lot of paths that you can believe, and then she tells you, and then when you tell her, but okay, this, you think this is what's going on, okay, why? Oh, I don't know why this is happening. But then she goes, but I'm almost certain, or I believe, or I know, that this is probably true. But at the same time, she says, oh, I don't know. For example, you can see it for yourself. If you guys watch the whole thing, you'll see what I'm talking about. She will tell you, she'll give you different theories. There's theory A, B, C, D, E, F, whatever. And then Piers Morgan will tell her, okay, well, why do you, what's the point of these theories? For example, let's say 9/11, it was an inside job. Okay, well, why was it an inside job? What is the objective of it being an inside job? Well, I don't know. I don't know why it's an inside job, but I know for a fact that it was an inside job. And it's how do you know for a fact that it was an inside job when you don't really know why you're even creating this theory in the first place? She comes up with all these theories. There's no actual conclusion as to why she created these theories, but she is certain these theories are not theories and they're truths. And that's literally the Candace Owens show. It's just a bunch of theories that she wants to throw at you. Nothing definitive, but she wants you to believe that they are true because she says they are. And that's enough. That is enough. And then she says that it's not about the truth, it's about what people believe is true. That's, like something along those lines. But she believes what is true is what people believe is true, not the actual truth. The actual truth doesn't really matter. So that's why she gives you all these different narratives for you to believe. And then she doesn't really know how she got to these narratives, but she knows for sure that they're true. And that's Candace Owens. And to me, I don't think that I'm not a converted Christian, but I've listened to a lot of Christian preachers and pastors, and what she is doing is deceiving the masses. She's giving you a bunch of different smoke and mirrors for you to believe, like you're stuck in a room with a bunch of mirrors and you don't know, and you see a woman in the reflection, but you don't know where the woman is. And I feel like that is what she is doing to people that watch her show. That is what she's doing to the America First movement, is she is distracting people with so much information that is not even validated. That because it is so much information, you don't know where to look, that when the true information comes to you, you're not going to believe it. And that is, to me, not Christian. Again, I'm not a converted Christian, but from what I've heard of other Christians, Christians don't deceive. Satan does. And what she is doing is deceitful. And she's doing it in the name of, I'm just asking questions. I'm just investigating. No, you're not. You're deceiving your audience by you giving them a lot of nothing, telling them, I don't know how I got to this, but believe me. Why? Why should we believe you? Who are you, guy? You're nobody. You think you're somebody, but you're really nobody. And the reason why you think you're somebody is because of all the nonsense you have spewed. And what's sad is that people will believe it. And that's why she thinks she's somebody. Because people believe that she is, but she isn't. She's a person who's a mother who has decided to make money off of things that are not even factually proven to be true. And people are just believing her because she has a pretty face. She has said a lot of things in the past that we can agree on. So because she has said things that we can relate to, now she has some type of credibility. So now she can lie to your face and you'll believe it. So that's where I'm at with Candace Owens. I can change my mind about her. Everybody evolves. But as for right now, I don't think she's a real Christian. I don't think she truly believes in what Christians value. And I believe she is one of the reasons that we could lose the midterms and possibly 2028. And I'm just being pessimistic right now because it's not looking so hot for the midterms. So again, I could be wrong. I hope I will. I really hope I am wrong. But she is not helping the party at all. She's not. So if you're not helping the party, whose side are you on, Candace? The people? Bullshit. Everybody who says, I'm with the people, end up becoming communist, socialist, Marxist. The Bolsheviks were for the people, and look what they did. Fidel Castro was for the people, and look what he did. So, yeah, I'm sorry. Anybody who says, I'm for the people, it's about what the people want, you're full of it. You're a liar. But, whatever. I can be wrong. I hope, we'll see. Let's continue talking about liars here. Charlie Kirk's killer trial to be televised. Let's take a look.
Today, Charlie Kirk was murdered on September 10th. 22-year-old Tyler Robinson was taken into custody 2 days later. This is the full list of charges he faces: aggravated murder, felony discharge of a firearm, 2 counts of obstruction of justice, 2 counts of witness tampering, a violent offense committed in the presence of a child. And if convicted, he could face the death penalty, but somehow all of that, well, it puts a smile on his face. Joining me now on today's hearing is Utah defense attorney and former prosecutor Nathan Evershed and criminal defense attorney and former prosecutor Imran Ansari. Thank you both for being with us here today. Imran, you're here with us in New York. Let's start with the hearing today on allowing cameras in the courtroom. What will the judge be analyzing? What will you think will be his decision?
Well, the judge is going to be analyzing whether allowing cameras in the courtroom will be prejudicial to Tyler Robinson. That's really the only thing that's going to be considered by that judge when making the analysis and weighing that against this presumption of public access to our courts, which is embodied essentially in our Constitution, 6th Amendment, and also the 1st Amendment, where you have the public access with the press interest in covering this case. This is a usually public case. You have the nation really interested in what's going on in that court in so many ways, and the real question for that judge is, if we allow the cameras into the courtroom, we allow the press to sit there, allow the nation and the world to see what's going on during the course of this trial, would that be prejudicial to this defendant? I don't.
It doesn't
think
matter.
That's going to be a compelling argument for the defense, because they want those cameras out. Of course, the prosecution also saying that they may not want those cameras in there, but I don't think that they're going to be prevailing on that because of all this pretrial coverage out there, and I don't see the prejudice to Tyler Robinson if they allow those cameras in.
And describe for me very quickly, how does, for example, televising the pretrial hearings prejudice a potential jury against Tyler Robinson?
Well, I think the argument is that if the jury pool there in Utah are accessing some of these pretrial hearings, some of the rulings, seeing some of the evidence that may be excluded at the time of trial, that is the danger of the prejudice to Tyler Robinson. But we've already seen a lot of that, Will. We've already seen those text messages, so I think that they can't unring the bell.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Nathan,
it.
I want to bring you in now. You have deep knowledge of...
Okay, yeah. It should be televised, and I hope the judge makes that decision because it should be televised. It's not a federal case, it is a state case, and state cases are televised. So, yeah. Even though, a lot of people who did not agree with Charlie Kirk because of their Marxist views. That's not my opinion. I think that's the truth. Those who don't agree with Charlie Kirk is because you have a Marxist viewpoint. Because, like, you can disagree on certain substances, but like to overall disagree with every single point he made, it's because you're a Marxist and you don't agree with actual liberty. Because the man, most of the time, was talking about being a free man and what that actually means in today's modern society, or a free woman in my case. And a lot of people who did not agree with Charlie Kirk for their ignorant reasons did not see this man as the MLK of our time, but he was bigger than MLK. He was bigger than MLK because he knew how to get people from the left to the center. He didn't expect them to go to the right, but he knew how to get enough people from the left to the center to literally be one of the reasons why Trump won the election this year. And people don't realize how big that is. This is an organization that he started from nothing at the age of 18. He wrote a book that my dad gave me 2 years ago, How College is a Scam. It's a guy with no degree whatsoever. Wrote a book about how you shouldn't get a degree. How you can make money without thinking that you need a degree to make money. Telling you that you have value already within you. You don't need a paper to prove to you that you are a valuable person. I mean, how is that racist? He thought a black person, an Asian, a white, a Hispanic, all of us can prosper. It doesn't matter what color we are, it doesn't matter where we came from. And that is exactly what MLK believed. We should not judge by our skin color, but the content of our character. It was the same message, just the guy happened to be white who was saying the message. And he had a way bigger influence in society than MLK did. But to us, he is the MLK of our time. So even though he was assassinated in cold blood by this person and many others, I believe he was involved. I don't think he was the only person involved. His death is going to be the reason why this movement is only going to get bigger. Even with these people fighting amongst each other, more people are waking up. Because the black community is slowly leaving the Democrat Party. I saw a poll not too long ago that only 60% of men vote for Democrat, which is still pretty high, but not so long ago it was 90%. So every year, less black men vote Democrat. And that is the goal. The goal is to get less black men voting Democrat, less Latinos voting Democrat. Because all the Democrat really has is the LGBTQ plus alphabet movement, the black activists who only want to oppress the black community in the name of all Black Lives Matter. To them, Black lives don't matter. That's why they became billionaires and they didn't fund black communities at all. Which, by the way, one of them got arrested recently for fraud. So that's happening. And then they have white liberals. That's it. That's all they have. People that are independent are really thinking, what has the Democrats actually done? What have they done? Look at their track record. It doesn't look so good. Even back in the days, it does not look good for Democrats. And to me, it's not about having it only one party rule, because that's authoritarian, and we don't want that. We want competition. I'm a capitalist. I want competition. But I want competition with a party that actually gives a damn about the country, and the current Democrat Party doesn't. So until they act and prove, very important, prove, because you can act whatever you want, but I need you to prove that you actually give a damn about this country. I want Republicans to continue to win. But in order for that to happen, we need more people to vote red, not blue, red, all the time. For governor, for mayor, vote red. And I'm going to keep saying that until the midterms, by the way. So get used to it. Let's talk about White House alleging Democrat Congresswoman committed immigration fraud. That's something. This is Megyn Kelly and Dave Smith.
News for all of us, which is about Ilhan Omar. It starts bad, but then it gets good. She married her brother, allegedly, so that he could get into the country and be here, like an immigration matter. Trump keeps saying that she married her brother so she could get in. That's not it. She was already in. She was brought in by her dad when she was young, under 18. But she did reportedly, allegedly, marry her own brother so that he could come into the country, and then divorced him and got remarried to her own ex-husband, I think is how it went, because this is all a fraud to get her brother here. Legal Insurrection, which is a great website, tells me the statute of limitations has run on that claim, that immigration fraud claim with the brother, if indeed it happened. However, because Tom Homan was on Fox saying that they're looking into this brother thing with Ilhan Omar. That's the best news we've heard. I'm thrilled that DHS is actually looking into it. So if the statute of limitations has run on the brother situation, still it should be exposed and documented. There is the possibility that she's still in trouble because now they think, okay, let me just read the following. And they're citing this Matt Tardio on X. Ilhan Omar claims that she obtained her citizenship when her father was naturalized in 2000, just months before her 18th birthday. But there's a problem. No record has been found of his naturalization paperwork. In response to a FOIA request for her father's N-400 paperwork filed by A.J. Kern in June of 2023, the National Records Center was unable to locate any filings under his name. Question, can she be denaturalized and deported if this is substantiated? Answer, yes. If fraud was involved in her father's alleged naturalization, then her citizenship could be on the chopping block, because that would be immigration fraud by the dad that would affect her, and that would be a political earthquake, Dave Smith.
That's it. What I'm trying to figure out is, how is it possible? This is like the part that doesn't make sense to me. How is it that you cannot find the dad's like citizenship information if his daughter was granted citizenship? Like, so she was granted citizenship the way I was granted citizenship. It's through blood. The dad became a naturalized citizen. Therefore, before she became 18, it passed on to her. But how on earth, if he's a citizen, how can they not find his information? Like, he could easily prove that he's an American citizen with an American passport, and the certificate they give you when you naturalize as a citizen, they give you a very nice, pretty certificate with the president's signature on it of that time frame. So that doesn't make sense. If they wanted to prove that he is an American citizen and she is too, then he could have easily been like, listen, this is my passport, this is my certificate, I'm an American citizen. And they could have squashed this like mystery of like, is she not? If they can't find it, then how on earth is she a citizen? Like, that's the part that I'm just like, what is going on in Minnesota? Like, are they doing citizenship fraud too? Like, what is going on? I mean, alleged. I don't know. I'm just saying this doesn't make sense, because I know what the citizenship certificate looks like. Like, so it's like, I don't know how that can happen. It doesn't make sense because you have the paperwork. Like, it doesn't make sense to me. If they can't find it, then, the odds are he probably never really was a citizen. But it's like, I don't know how you can fake that. I really don't. I mean, maybe they're going to find out, because clearly they're digging into now citizenship fraud, apparently. Because if they're trying to denaturalize this woman, Congresswoman of Minnesota, Ilhan Omar, the only person in Congress who wears like a head thing on her head, which, by the way, you're not allowed to do. It's against dress code. But they made a special exception for her because she's Islam. Yeah. So that's another story for another day. But let's take a look at this next video here.
We have talked about Ilhan Omar, the congresswoman from Minnesota, who's somehow worth more than $30 million after having a net worth of $65,000 just 3 years ago. Again, this is all public information, so how did she get all that money? How did she get all that money?
America's a great country. Look at that. Look how much money she's making. She's an immigrant. Did she marry her brother, Ahmed Elmi, on February 12, 2009 in Eden Prairie, Minnesota? We've got the marriage certificate. She did this allegedly, reportedly, so he could get a green card. A man who divides his time between the UK and South Africa now and goes by the name Dirty Dandy on social media, and he is a dandy one. We think these are all reasonable questions to be asking, and joining us now to help us answer those questions, the most prominent Republican in the state of Minnesota, House Majority Whip and Minnesota Congressman Tom Emmer. Congressman, great to see you. I want to talk about the money first, if we could. Ilhan Omar founded this program called Feeding Our Families, which was then robbed by $250 million. 3 Somali refugees have been arrested so far. Suddenly, Ilhan's got a net worth of $30 million. Sir, do we think there could be a connection?
Oh, we better find out. And Rob, it's great to be with you. Let me just adjust a little bit of that. Ilhan Omar was instrumental, I understand, in creating the funds that were used for nutrition during the crisis known as the pandemic. There is a entity in Minnesota called Feeding Our Future that built that program out of $250 million. It was the single largest pandemic fraud case in the country. When you look, it's not just 3 people have been arrested. You've had 87 people charged in that fraud scheme, and it happens to be that 90% of them come from the Somali community in Minnesota.
Interesting.
Did Ilhan know? I have no idea. Was Ilhan involved? I've got the same questions. How do you go from a net worth of $65,000 on a $172,000 annual salary, which, by the way, you got to pay for your health benefits, your housing, everything else? How do you go from that and suddenly have 26 to 30-some million dollars in just 3 years?
It makes no
it doesn't
sense.
Stop there. You got to look at our governor. You got to look at our attorney general.
Yeah, I agree. It makes no sense.
Right,
Look,
that's it.
Bernie Madoff.
Okay, so let's take a look at the next video. We're going to continue talking about fraud here. This is crazy, man. They make Cubans look good.
The Trump administration is increasing political pressure on Minnesota and Governor Tim Walz.
And now the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services says that it is tightening controls on Minnesota's social services over ongoing investigations and concerns of fraud in the state. Our So-Young Kim joining us now. And So-Young, many may be more familiar with Dr. Oz as a doctor on TV, but he sent this letter to Walz as the federal administrator of these services.
That's right, and the Trump administration is threatening to withhold federal funding if corrective steps and increased oversight aren't taken soon.
We are done footing the bill for your incompetence. This administration will never stop fighting to protect the vulnerable Americans who rely on these programs and the taxpayers who fund them.
In a letter addressed to Governor Tim Walz, Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services Administrator Dr. Mehmet Oz says he's taking necessary steps to combat what he calls systemic fraud in Minnesota's Medicaid programs. According to Oz, the Housing Stabilization Services Program, projected at $2.6 million annually, paid out over $100 million in 2024. Amid the ongoing fraud investigations, CMS helped the Minnesota Department of Human Services shut down HSS in October. Now, CMS is requiring corrective measures within 60 days. Minnesota DHS must provide weekly updates on how the state is stopping fraud, freeze provider enrollment for over a dozen programs that show high risk of abuse, verify all current providers are legitimate or remove them, and must submit a comprehensive correction action plan to prevent future fraud. Governor Tim Walz's office sent this statement in response to the letter. It reads in part, quote, "We are glad to see CMS affirming the governor's executive action and look forward to continuing to work together.
That man's
While
gonna
the
get
governor
arrested.
has been working to ensure fraudsters go to prison, the president is letting them
You're
out."
going to go to prison.
And in October, Governor Walz had announced a pause in payments to 14 state programs and brought in a third-party auditor to review the state's DHS Medicaid billing. Reporting
All
in the
right, that's
newsroom,
it.
So-Young Kim.
Go to the next one. He's going to get arrested. There's no way he's
The
gonna get
fraud
away with that.
scandal in Minnesota escalating over the weekend. Both Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent and State Representative Ilhan Omar publicly speaking out regarding the widespread alleged scheme allegedly orchestrated by Somali asylum seekers. The National News Desk, Jeff
Not
Harris,
allegedly, they
joining
were
us,
charged.
and both
90% of
Bessent
them
and
were
Omar,
Somali.
they
It's
appeared
not
on
alleged.
Face the Nation, Jeff. But the two, of course, as you can expect, relayed much different messages to the American people. Break down what we know.
So Besson spent much of the interview on his end discussing the Treasury Department's investigation, which includes whether taxpayer money went to terrorist organizations in Somalia. Omar, who's part of the Somali community, responding to those comments, saying it would be a failure of the FBI if that did in fact happen.
What do you mean,
Over the
bitch?
weekend,
It happened.
Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent calling out Minnesota Representative Ilhan Omar for her response about the allegations of widespread fraud from the state's Somali community, the largest in the nation, and potential link to terrorist organizations.
Representative Omar tried to downplay it, said, "Oh, it was very it was very tough to know how this money should be used."
Yep.
You know, she was gaslighting the American people.
Meanwhile, Omar pushing back, saying any connection between alleged Somali fraud and terrorism would fall on the FBI.
If there was a linkage in that the money that they had stolen going to terrorism, then that is a failure of the FBI.
This fraud investigation dates back to
How is that a failure of the FBI if your constituents are committing fraud and allegedly sending them over to their country where it's being received by a terrorist organization called Al-Shabaab? How is that the FBI's fault It is the community you represent's fault that think it's a genius idea to take money that they didn't work for and give it to their country, which is literally a terrorist-run country, thinking it's not going to end up in the hands of a terrorist organization. Incredible how people like her literally cannot even look in the mirror and see that they are the problem. Instead, they want to blame somebody else for the problem they created themselves. Absolutely incredible. Like I said last live, and I'll say it here, I am not one of those Cubans who will blame America and the imperialism why Cuba is the way it is. Cuba is the way it is because of Cubans. That's why. So Somalis need to look in the mirror and blame themselves for the stain that community has right now. Because now when you think of a Somalian, you're going to think, oh, massive fraud. These people are leeches. They don't work at all, and they just live off the government because a lot of y'all got caught. So now every single one of you, even if you're innocent, you're going to have a stain on you because your community condoned it. In fact, according to this next video, we have something now called fraud tourism, which was created by the Somali community, which literally is Somali people telling other Somalis from other states to go to Minnesota because there's opportunity for fraud to make easy money. Insane. Can't make this up. Let's take a look at the video. Incredible.
Dubai and several locations in Saudi Arabia. The second case being announced today is United States versus Kamil Omar Salah, the owner of Safe Lodgings, Inc., another housing stabilization services company. As with the other defendants, Mr. Salah enrolled in the housing stabilization program and began claiming to be providing housing stabilization services to people that were leaving drug and alcohol rehabilitation facilities. Again, he did no such thing. Instead, he just submitted fraudulent claims for services that he never provided. He submitted more than $1.4 million in fraudulent Medicaid claims, which he used to purchase more than $150,000 in cryptocurrency.
Wow.
As well as to fund his lifestyle.
Wow. Use our money for cryptocurrency.
Fled the country, fled
wow.
the United States after his company received a grand jury subpoena for records related to.
And he fled. He was too much of a coward to even withstand the consequences.
The fourth and fifth defendants are charged in United States versus Anthony Waddell Jefferson and Lester Brown. And this case is slightly different. This is an instance of what's essentially fraud tourism. Mr. Jefferson and Brown were residents of Philadelphia who had no connection to Minnesota, except for they heard that Minnesota and its housing stabilization services program was easy money. And so they traveled to Minnesota,
incredible.
Enrolled their companies, Chosen Runner LLC and Retzel Real Estate LLC, in the Housing Stabilization Services Medicaid program here in Minnesota. They then returned to Philadelphia and began submitting fraudulent claims to Minnesota Medicaid here, through which they obtained more than $3.5 million in fraudulent Medicaid payments. This fraud tourism is new, although we've heard of it as investigators here. I mean, these defendants came here not to enjoy our lakes, our beautiful summers, or our warm people. They came here because they knew and understood that Minnesota was a place where taxpayer money could be taken with little risk and few consequences. Fortunately, through the hard work of the agents, that we have been able to charge them for their role here. Now, to date, we have charged 13 people for their role in the scheme to defraud the Housing Stabilization Services Program, and that investigation remains very much ongoing. We expect additional charges in the coming weeks and months.
All right, that's it. All right. So I had seen the whole thing, and there's a question that a reporter asks, and they say, like pretty much like, how are you going to get the money back? And his response was, well, we don't charge like dollars, we charge people. So essentially, you're not going to get the money back, because let's say you liquidate what they bought, you know, all the assets they bought, it's not going to make up for all the money that they lost, because a lot of that money went overseas. So we're going to charge these people for fraud, but we're not going to get the money back, at least not all of it. That money's gone. So because that money's going to be gone, we're going to have to start thinking, okay, well, how are we going to make sure this never happens again? And that's why I'm saying it now, and I'll say it again if it hasn't happened yet. Tim Walz will be charged. I don't know with what, but he will be charged, because it was his governorship that allowed this to happen. Find out really quick, when did Tim Walz become governor? I think it was in 2020 or something like that. Like right during COVID time.
Tim Walz first became governor of Minnesota in January 2019.
2019, okay. So, and they started finding out fraud 2022. So, but it didn't hit the news cycle until now, 2025. So think about how badly they were suppressing this information. But it was so bad, they couldn't suppress it any longer. And now it's blown up to the point that now they found fraud in Ohio. They found fraud now in Boston with Snap. So they're going to find fraud now in every single city and state that is mainly Democrat governed. And as they should, for two reasons. A, you can't be committing fraud. That's obvious, right? B, it's going to expose the lack of governorship Democrats actually have. They are here to protect criminals, not citizens who are law-abiding. And it's also going to help us in the midterms, because we're going to be able to go back to this and be like, do you really want more fraud? Like, what do you want? Do you want safe streets, or do you want criminals roaming the streets and stealing your money? Take your pick. So it's just unfortunate that we had to lose billions of dollars for this. And it hasn't even happened yet, because we haven't won the midterms. I'm hoping that this is one of those issues that they use to win the midterms, which will be a really good issue to use, considering he's a great example of Democrat governorship. What happens when a Democrat governor is in power? Fraud, crime, invasion. People barely speak English over there. There's a video of Tyler Oliveira, which I highly recommend you watch. He just went to Minnesota recently trying to talk to any Somalian there, any Somali immigrant, and nobody spoke English. It's like us going to Hialeah, which, by the way, we will do in the near future. So stay tuned for that. Subscribe, because I can't wait. The goal is, let's hit 1,000 subs, and I'm going to be able to do that. But we got to hit 1,000 subs. So let's help MTT hit 1,000 subs, and you will see me on the streets talking to people in Miami. So you're hearing it now. All right. So I think Tim Walz is going to get arrested. All right. You're hearing it now, maybe in a year from now, maybe in 6 months from now, but that man is not going to be a free man for too long. Let's take a look at Sydney, Australia, terrorist attack by Islams. More Islam stuff happening, unfortunately. This is a very sad one. I don't have any videos of the actual attack because I didn't want to put that. I don't think YouTube will allow me anyway.
Andy says he likes the cap, and if you have it in black.
Yes, I do, Andy. I want to hit those 1,000 subs the way I can start pushing the merch. But yes, I do. I can make one for you and give it to you.
Charges against two men, Antonio Bonner and Saul Elisme, for large-scale SNAP benefit trafficking, a scheme that turned a program designed to feed families into a multi-million-dollar criminal enterprise. SNAP benefits are also known as food stamps. The defendants are charged with
Oh,
one
wait,
count
no,
of
this
food
is
stamp fraud.
No. This is I already kind of glazed over that. There's fraud now in Boston, and it's also Somalis doing fraud in Boston with snaps. It's Sydney, Australia terrorist attack. First link, that one. Yeah, that's the one. No, the one that you just had on. Yeah, that one.
Memory of my aunt who stopped taking the subway after September 11th because she did not feel safe in her hijab.
Yep,
One of the disgusting legacies after 9/11 has been the targeting and racism against Muslim Americans.
There is a lot of anger being generated and hatred being generated against Muslims.
That right there, the Islamophobia playbook, worshipped by leaders on the left for years, used to bully people into not having honest conversation, is not working anymore.
Nope.
I know that because for the last 24 hours, all we've heard from the left is warnings about Islamophobia. Our leaders must decide now. Will they protect us from jihad or will they protect us from Islamophobia? That's our Why It Matters memo.
They're not going to
tonight.
protect us. Not
Let's
those
consider how many
buddies.
people have died worldwide or in the United States in the name of each. Since the 1980s, jihadis have murdered tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands, in the name of Muhammad. The most recent examples are 2 Muslims slaughtering 15 people at a Hanukkah party in Australia, the ISIS attacks killing 2 American service members and a translator in Syria, plus a number of foiled attacks in Europe. And once again today, politicians on the left and Muslims use the Islamophobia slur to shut down honest conversation. Here, for example, is Mehdi Hassan.
As a Muslim, you do what's called the Muslim drill, as our friend Wajad Ali once coined it 10 years ago in the New York Times, where you think, please, please, please don't let the shooter be a Muslim, because we know what will happen then. We know that the Islamophobes will weaponize this incident to go after ordinary Muslims who had nothing to do with this. We know it will add to already increasing levels of Islamophobia.
I don't think there's such a thing as ordinary
Muslims
Muslims.
had nothing to do with this. That is in debate. Hassan wants you to believe Muslims are the real victims because cold-blooded murderers breed Islamophobia. Phobia is an irrational fear. The fear of Islam and of jihad is not irrational. It's certainly not anymore. Sadly, Hassan is one of the more reasonable voices on his side of the argument. His argument being afraid of Islamic terrorism only helps the terrorists. There's a reckoning now on whether radical Islam is the exception or the rule.
There is no such thing
Having
as
this
radical
conversation
Islam.
for the last
Islam is
24
radical.
years has been forbidden. Not anymore. Now we must ask if Islam is consistent with Western values.
It's not.
Look at these videos from Amsterdam to Milan to Birmingham, England. All of these marchers, predominantly men, are celebrating the attacks in Sydney. So are these what Hassan would have called the ordinary Muslims? The ones out celebrating the attacks in Sydney and calling for intifada in the wake of Sunday's massacre? Don't take my word for all of this. The people who have been warning the most fervently about Islamic terror and jihad becoming the norm in the West is people who know it the best.
Listen to this, guys.
The
This is
leaders
really
in the United
important.
Arab Emirates,
This
for example.
message
Here
right here that
is
he's
their
gonna
foreign
show.
minister warning the West 8 years ago.
Yep, right here.
There will come a day that we will see far more radical extremists and terrorists coming out of Europe because of the lack of decision making, trying to be politically correct, or assuming that they know the Middle East and they know Islam and they know the others far better than we do. And I'm sorry, but that's pure ignorance.
Yep. I'm done. That's
Should
it.
have listened then.
He said it. Not much to say there. No, I'm kidding. Of course, I have a lot to say. I wouldn't be called Married to Talks if I didn't have anything to say. All right, so yes, there is no such thing as radical Muslims. To me, the Islam religion is radical at its core. The Prophet Muhammad is a pedophile because he decided to rape a 9-year-old girl. Well, he married a 6-year-old and then raped her at 9 years old. So that is not a prophet, that is a rapist. And I'm not going to say the word again because I know that YouTube doesn't like the R word. I don't believe that religion is peaceful because why do you have to say the peaceful Muslims? Why does the word peaceful have to be in front of Muslim. If they were truly peaceful, then would just say Muslims, not peaceful Muslims or the peaceful religion of Islam. The fact that you have to emphasize that it's peaceful is what makes it not peaceful. When you think of Christians and Catholics, you don't say, oh, the peaceful Catholics or the peaceful Christians. You just call them Christians and Catholics. Same thing with Hindus. So this quote unquote religion, to me, it's not a religion. It is a cult. It is a cult that has conquered the Middle East. Egypt used to be Christian, and it is now 90% Islam. Same thing with Lebanon. It used to be Christian, and now it's Islam. This religion is not a religion. To me, it is a mindset that acts like a parasite. It needs a host, and the minute it latches on to a land, it conquers it. That's why they pray on the street to let you know it is their land now, not yours anymore. They want to make sure you are aware of that. There is no assimilation with these people. And yes, I sound probably bigoted by saying these people. I don't care how I may sound. That is the problem. We care too much about how we sound. How about you just say what you think out loud? And people will agree with you because they think the same. They feel the same. They resonate with the message. If you're not willing to actually assimilate into society, and that means remove your burqa, that means remove the head stuff, that means remove all of that. Because guess what? In America, we don't wear that. We wear caps. We wear cowboy hats. We wear beanies. That's part of the American culture. We don't wear burqas. We don't cover our faces. We don't do any of that stuff. I'm not saying look like a hoe, but I am saying look like a normal human being. That's what I am saying. Women are treated like slaves in that quote unquote religion, which is again a cult. They're not free. I remember when I was a kid, my first best friend was in 5th grade. Her name is Ola. And Ola is Lebanese. Ola at that time did not have the whole thing. And I went to her house and I got to see how they lived. And man, did they live differently than we do. There is no assimilation. They don't live like us. Not even in their home do they live like us. It's like because as a Cuban, when you move here, you move certain things with you. You know, you move your food, you move your music, you know, but you don't really move your mindset, or you do your best not to. A lot of Cubans nowadays do, but I'm talking about the old school Cubans didn't move the mindset. They left that behind. That's why they left. They don't want that mindset. They don't want that communist, socialist mindset. They want the American mindset. They want to be able to prosper and know what it is to be a free man in a free country. In order for you to feel that, you need to leave the mindset behind. The mindset you were indoctrinated with in the country you were born. And these people, when they flee their country to come here, that mindset stays intact. It does not go anywhere. In fact, Ola, when I met her when I was like in 5th grade. How old were we in 5th grade? Like 10 years old. When she moved to Michigan, because it's a predominantly Islam, Muslim, whatever community over there, she ended up wearing the headdress thing. No assimilation. I've met people who come from Islam countries who know that in this country you don't have to wear that. You don't. You can believe in your God that I don't agree with, but you can believe in your God and not have to wear all of that. But to them, you got to wear the whole thing to believe in the God. And that, to me, that's not an actual religion. It is a mindset that conquers whatever it touches. That's not a religion. A religion doesn't conquer. A religion tries to persuade. There's no force. This quote-unquote religion forces you. That's why if you are a Muslim converting to Christian to a Muslim, you deserve to die. That's not a religion. That's a cult. That's not me being bigoted. You can look it up. They believe in death to anybody who leaves their religion to go to Christianity. That is what they believe. They also believe a child who gets their period is a woman. That means if a 9-year-old gets their period, they should be able to have sex with her. That is what they believe. So I'm sorry. That is not a part of our culture, and it's time we have a conversation about what is the American culture and what isn't. Because those of us who believe in the American culture, we need to speak up more, and those who don't agree with the American culture need to leave. And they can leave willingly or they can leave by force, but they need to leave. That's all I gotta say about that. Let's continue on with the what is this?
12 killed at Sydney.
Yeah, let's see if I think that's a new update. Let's take a look at that.
Dead and around a dozen more are injured. This happened at Sydney's Bondi Beach.
And they
Authorities say
another person that was injured just died, so it's 16 dead right now.
Officials are calling it an act of terrorism. News Nation's Alicia Nieves is here with more. Alicia, what do we know so far about this terrible incident?
We actually just got some new information into the newsroom just a few minutes ago. Police in Australia are now saying that they have found several improvised explosive devices in a car in connection to this deadly attack. A bomb unit, they're saying, is now on scene this morning following what is described as one of the deadliest attacks in Australia.
These people got to go back to their country.
Understand that in addition to the 12 people who were killed, around a dozen more have been wounded. 2 gunmen now, we believe, according to police, fired an open gunfire at this popular Bondi Beach
in a country that banned guns.
Holiday gathering to mark the start.
That tells you everything.
Now, police say one suspected gunman is dead. A second is in critical condition. Again, 11 people at least injured, taken to the hospital, including 2 police officers. There's video now circulating online that appears to show one gunman being tackled and disarmed by a bystander, while another suspect is seen firing from a pedestrian bridge. Authorities have not yet verified this footage, but it is alarming, and Australian leaders say this is shocking and just ultimately extremely distressing.
All right.
This is a shocking event.
Oh, God. When are we going to learn? How many more Christians and Jews have to die for people to realize that this is not a religion, this is a cult? It's not the radical Islam. Islam is radical. I should make a shirt that says Islam is radical. Because why not? We live in a free country. That's actually a good idea. Don't steal it from me. Don't steal it from me. I'm already making it. All right. Let's talk about Trump and Venezuela. Let's talk about these speedboats.
Images of that oil tanker seized by the U.S. off the coast of Venezuela, headed to a port in Galveston, Texas, following that dramatic raid by an elite Coast Guard team rappelling onto the ship from helicopters after a federal judge signed a warrant to seize it. The DOJ says the ship was part of an illicit oil shipping network supporting terrorist organizations, transporting sanctioned oil from Venezuela and Iran. And it comes as the Wall Street Journal reports, citing U.S. officials, that, quote, a U.S. special operations team boarded a ship in the Indian Ocean last month and seized military-related articles heading to Iran from China. All while the U.S. is escalating pressure against Venezuela's authoritarian leader, Nicolas Maduro, following a series of deadly strikes on alleged drug boats. President Trump considering potential strikes on land as part of his war on drug cartels.
It's not only land strikes on Venezuela, it's land strikes on horrible people that are breaking in drugs and killing our people.
While overnight, Maria Corina Machado, Venezuela's opposition leader, praised the Trump administration's moves after she received the Nobel Peace Prize.
President Trump's actions have been decisive to reach the point where we are right now, in which the regime is weaker than ever.
Press late tonight, the president would not rule out seizing additional ships. Maduro's regime has called these actions piracy.
We thank you for watching.
That's funny. That's funny. Piracy. Oh, God. All right, let's watch the next one. That's funny. says the actual pirate.
Overseas, 2 U.S. soldiers and an American interpreter were killed in an attack in Syria. This is according to the Pentagon. The president made some statements, everyone, as he was landing for the Army-Navy game. Let's take a listen to him.
So we mourn the loss of 3 great patriots in Syria. You know how it happened. It was an ambush, terrible. We also have 3 wounded. They seem to be doing pretty well. But we mourn the loss. These are 3 great people. And it's just a terrible thing. Syria, by the way, was fighting along with us. The new president of Syria is, as they told me, and I'm not surprised, he's devastated by what happened. This was an ISIS attack on us and Syria. And again, we mourn the loss and we pray for them and their parents and their loved ones. Very, very sad.
Mr. President, will the U.S. retaliate against ISIS?
Yeah, we will.
Oh yeah, we'll definitely retaliate for sure. All right, that's it. So a lot of people are not happy about this. So I thought he said he wasn't gonna be starting any new wars. Well, you know, if somebody punches you in the face, are you gonna walk away or are you gonna punch him back? What are you gonna do? You know, I'm just. Like, I love it when these isolationist retards are they don't think of it. Listen, I've only said it once, okay? It is what it is. And I think last live I said it like 5 times.
The R word used great.
Oh, well, it's already been said, so it's all right.
Just in case.
People they've said that before. PBD says that shit all the time. So, I lost my train of thought. What was I saying? Oh, yeah. The isolationists are the ones who are saying, no, we should not go to war under any means necessary. Okay, so if they bomb one of your, I don't know, territories, you're not going to do anything? They just killed soldiers in Syria. We needed soldiers in Syria to make sure things stay steady there. That's why they're there. It's like people don't understand that you need to have some type of military presence around the world in order to keep things at bay. That's the whole point. It's not about policing. We're not policing. We're not telling people what to do. We are just having presence there to deter things from happening. That's all we're doing. And for some reason, these isolationists don't think we should have zero deterrence whatsoever. So they have no problem with China doing business in our backyard with Mexico and Venezuela and Colombia. No problem with that, because we shouldn't be involved in anything. We should only be America only. Well, if you're only America only, America's gonna get ambushed by all these other countries that want to be, a superpower, or they want to go under China because they agree with the Chinese Communist Party, because they're also communist. Do you not comprehend? If America is not a superpower, if America is not pretty much laying down the law and having military around the world in strategic locations, the next superpower will be China. And the whole world is going to change. The entire world is going to change. America will no longer be what it is right now, because we're going to adopt whatever the hell the Chinese believe, which is not much, because I don't think you could even believe in anything there, publicly. So I don't agree with America only. I agree with America first. And that means what is in America's interest. That includes geopolitics. So that means striking ISIS for killing soldiers, we should do it. Doesn't mean we should have, soldiers killing ISIS. They're probably going to have drone strikes, because drones now are the popular thing. There's no boots on the ground except the ones that are already there. So that's probably what's going to happen. But should we retaliate? Damn right we should. Because if we don't, we look weak. So we definitely should. And when it comes to Venezuela and these speedboats, a lot of leftists, and even people on the right are saying, well, I had somebody who I used to have, who I thought was a friend, and you know that it is what it is. Politics ruins relationships now. It's so unfortunate. But this person, it was like, oh well, you know, I've been told that they were fishermen. Yeah, okay, in speedboats, really? Fishermen in speedboats, like, come on, man. Think a little bit. Use a little bit of critical thinking. I know they don't teach us a lot of that in public school, but damn, doesn't mean we don't have it. Venezuela, and Colombia, and Mexico have been smuggling drugs for decades. Specifically, Colombia. We know Colombia is known for cocaine. Like, that's even in movies, bro. It's in movies. Like, even the cinema tells you. So when we have an actual president that is actually going to war with cartels, like actual war on drugs, not this BS and Nixon did, no, actual war on drugs, the left want to be like, oh my God, but, you know, this is not constitutional, or, you know, maybe these are illegal orders, and, you know, let's tell the military to doubt orders of the president, the commander in chief. No. He is doing what every other president should have done in the past. He's going after the very people who are poisoning American people. American people are sick, literally sick, mentally sick, addicted to drugs, addicted to sugar. That's why we're so obese. Addicted to drugs is why people just want to get high. If it's not alcohol, it's a shit ton of weed, which, by the way, got Schedule 3 now, not Schedule 1. So woo for us, you know, that are pro weed. But, like, you know, just addicted to just consuming. We are a pro-consuming country because we're a capitalist country. But there's the downfall to that is because we're a consuming nation, we could end up consuming also bad things that end up killing us in a very short amount of time. So I know people personally that have committed suicide from, I know it's another word that I'm not allowed to use, but I already said it, because of drugs. So it's like, how many more Americans have to die? How many more families have to go through a family member who was addicted and ended up killing themselves? How many more deaths have to happen for people to realize that we need to go after the very countries that are allowing this to happen in the first place? And this president happens to be that president who gives a damn. If it would have been Obama, nobody would have been questioning. Obama killed American people. Obama killed children. And nobody called him a war criminal. Nobody said, oh, well, that's an illegal order. Nobody questioned anything about Obama. But when it's Trump doing it, who happens to be a white guy, oh, no, we have to question everything because a white man, there needs to be boundaries to the white man, but the black man can do whatever the hell he wants. Especially if he's a leftist. Maybe if he was a Republican, maybe there would be boundaries there too. But, like, I personally think if you're going to stop drugs from affecting Americans, you need to cut the supply. And the supply is in Venezuela, in Colombia, and in Mexico. You cut the supply and the demand will fade out. People will find other ways to get high. Or maybe they would just stop altogether and go get help, which is essentially what they need to do. But in order for that to happen, we need to cut the supply. So that means striking more speedboats, so be it. If that means going to Venezuela on foot, so be it. And I think if he succeeds, and from what I'm hearing, Marco Rubio is not stopping, Cuba is next. And I pray to God, Cuba is next. Because Cuba, right now, I just saw a video of that video that you sent me, that was from 2021 or 2022. That video is old. It's a video of an enormous parasite or bacteria this big that is in the pipes in Cuba. And people are dying from it. And on top of that, that same island where people are dying from, the leaders are using it as an operation for trafficking drugs because they're working with Venezuela. So I don't care what they have to do to end this, but people are dying in foreign countries and in this country. So we need to stop dying. That means attacking the cartels. However it needs to happen, it needs to happen. Whether you're a left or right, center, everybody should be on the side of ending this war on drugs. So let's laugh a little bit. This is funny. It's sad and funny at the same time. So this is the chief police of DC, okay, who resigned. We're gonna find out why she resigned, but I want to react to this first because I saw a little short, but this is an actual video.
Not leave without saying something.
All of a sudden, she's a preacher.
To my haters. Listen, I know you taught me well. We were raised in the church, Bible study, Sunday school, BTU, choir rehearsal, Wednesday night Bible study, Tuesday night Bible study, children's choir, you name it. There's enough Jesus in me. That's going to get me to heaven if I die tomorrow. But watch this. You've taught me well, and I just need you to just follow me with this just for a few moments, Mom. Don't, because listen, I listened to her even at 50-something years old. There's nothing, she pretends like we don't listen to her, but we do.
Okay.
So, as I close, to the partners that are here, thank you. Thank you for your support, and thank you for showing up every single day. Target, thank you. I appreciate you. I adored the work that we did in our community together.
Target?
And to literally drive down crime in our establishments.
Yep.
Make no mistake about it. You can say what you want to say, but I live in this city and I felt it myself. I felt the shift. And I'm going to say it again. I never, and never will, and never would have encouraged, intimidated, retaliated, or told anyone to change their numbers. Never would I have done that. That is not my character. That is not who I am. That is not a part of the person in which God created me to be. I have to walk in the light.
Okay. The light.
See, the only thing I just want to, and I'm getting there, Mom.
Okay.
Because as old Baptist preachers say we're closing 3 or 4 times. And I'm really closing right now. I see you, Monica. And to my family that's here, there's some folks that came in from Staten Island, New York, who have known me for well over how many years, Pastor Brown? Since I first came to Staten Island when I graduated from college. That's how long these folks have known. They know my character. I preached in their churches. I preached all across the United States of America.
Again, this is a chief police.
Never mind, because some of y'all thinking this. Okay.
Just to continue.
So I'm going to the Bible when I say this to my haters. F you.
So she said the Bible. Go back a little bit. Just a little bit. Couple seconds.
I'm going to the Bible when I say this to my haters.
Okay, go. I'm going to the Bible, play.
F you.
All right. So I'm going to the Bible, and the Bible apparently to her says F you. Yeah. Typical leftist, completely disrespecting the Bible and using the Bible to make herself look like she's some type of good person. But the reason why she resigned is, take a look at the next video. She got caught. She got caught cooking them books, boy. That's why she resigned. Her pussy ass, that's why she resigned. Oh, man. And then she wants to act like a preacher. Oh, a believer in God. But yeah, she said F you after she said the Bible.
Praise the Lord.
Yeah. Let's go.
National headlines. Voters in Miami have elected their first Democratic mayor in almost...
No, not that, bro. It's the second link to DC Chief Police. Get it together.
It's not here.
But you didn't put it there because it's there. It's on the guide. It's on the guide.
But I dare not.
Oh, man.
This one, is it?
No, that's the first one, I would assume. Unless you didn't put the first one, you put the second one.
You got think we're both the same.
Developing.
There you see.
I don't know why I didn't know.
You see, I told ya.
Now, a new report from the House Oversight Committee alleges former D.C. Police Chief Pamela Smith pressured officers to manipulate crime data. House Republicans releasing the report this weekend, less than a week after Smith announced she was stepping down. The National News Desk, Jeff Harris, joins us. And Jeff, this report comes months after lawmakers opened an investigation into Smith following whistleblower allegations. Break down the findings of this report.
So in the over 20-page report released by the House Oversight Committee, lawmakers wrote that Smith pressured officers to manipulate crime data, punished them for reporting accurate crime numbers, and fostered a toxic culture. Plus, they allege the crime stats in D.C. are still at risk of being manipulated. Back in August, House Oversight Chairman James Comer sending this letter to D.C. Police Chief Pamela Smith, informing her that the committee, quote, is investigating disturbing allegations that D.C. crime data is inaccurate and intentionally manipulated. On Sunday, the committee releasing its initial report alleging that Smith deliberately manipulated crime data to create a safer appearance in D.C.
You're lulling people into this false sense of security. They might go places they wouldn't ordinarily go.
Included in the report, transcribed interviews with the commanders of all 7 D.C. patrol districts and the former commander currently on suspended leave. One being asked, quote, over the last few years, has there been any internal pressure to simply bring down crime statistics? Their answer, yes, I mean extreme. There's always been pressure to keep crime down, but the focus on stats has come with this current administration. In reaction to the findings, Comer writing in part, quote, every single person who lives, works, or visits D.C. deserves a safe city, yet it's now clear the American people were deliberately kept in the dark about the true crime rates in our nation's capital.
They are going to have to regain the public trust. Again, this is a huge integrity issue.
Among the report's key findings, Smith's pressure campaign.
So I don't know if you guys remember, like before the National Guard went to DC, they were saying the crime is down. Crime is down. And then the Trump administration was like, yeah, because you're lying about the numbers. You're not reporting the accurate numbers. So you are using that as a clutch for us not to actually go in DC. But when they went to DC, crime drastically dropped in real time, like significantly, like over 50% drop. So when they went back into the numbers, they found out she was cooking them books. And she resigned. And she claimed that she didn't resign because of that. And that's exactly why she resigned. Because she got caught. Again, another Democrat in power to prove they don't know how to govern. They don't know how to be leaders. They are terrible at it. Absolutely horrendous. And how much you want to bet the reason why she got in is because DEI, she's a lesbian and she's black. She got all the cards. So that's enough for her to be a literally chief of police. And you know who also does that? North Korea. North Korea will literally have people as doctors who don't know anything about the medical field, but they love the dictator and they're part of the bureaucracy, so they put themselves there. But they don't know anything about the field. And that's exactly what Cuba also does. All these freaking countries who believe in this crazy ideology that, you know, if you are a minority, you should be given some type of special treatment. You end up actually creating chaos because you are hiring people not based off of merit on whether they can do the damn job, but because, you know, they fit the part. You know, we want a black woman and lesbian, so that's why she needs to be a police officer, not because she's actually great at her job. And that's the problem. We need to go back to like common sense. We need to actually hire people because they're good at their job, not because they look good, you know, for the papers and all that good stuff. So let's talk about how a Democrat won Miami for the first time in like a long time. Kudos to her.
Now to your national headlines. Voters in Miami have elected their first Democratic mayor in almost 30 years. In yesterday's runoff election, Eileen Higgins defeated her Republican opponent, who was endorsed by President Trump and Governor Ron DeSantis. Higgins campaigned on affordable housing and advocacy for the city's immigrants.
All Democrats
She'll
are
be the
running on
first
affordable
woman
housing, but
to
they weren't
serve as
saying
mayor of
anything when Biden
Miami.
was in
She
office.
previously served as commissioner of Miami-Dade
When everything was
County.
expensive.
Now to your national headlines.
All right,
Voters
that's
in
it.
Miami
That's
have
just
elected.
short. All right, so this woman is running on affordable housing, and what that means to a Democrat, I'm gonna already predict what this woman is gonna do. Okay, I can be wrong, but I'm predicting. Okay, and I think it's fun to predict and then finding out whether I'm right or wrong. So this is what I think she's gonna do. She's going to use taxpayer money from the wealthy, of course, and the middle class who own homes. She's gonna raise the property taxes, and she's gonna use that money to build government-owned real estate to house blacks who are low income and Latinos who are low income. That's the mind of a Democrat when it comes to how to solve the affordability crisis. All they're doing is taking money from people who work and giving it to people who don't. That's all it is. That's how they consider fixing the crisis. You're not really fixing it, you're just putting a band-aid over it. In reality, you're making it worse because those people who you're taking money from can just leave, which is what's going to happen in New York City. I mean, it's already happening. So we're going to see. I don't really care that she's a woman. I care what she's actually going to do for Miami. And considering her slogans are extremely Marxist at its face, I'm predicting already what she's going to do is only take money from those who have it and give it to those who don't. That's what all Democrats know how to do. They don't know how to do anything else. They don't know how to actually create real policies that actually make real change, positive change, because you can make bad changes. But let's talk about something that good happened that was good, a good story. Republican passes bill to ban transgender surgery on minors. We didn't have that many people the Democrats signing up for that bill, but I think it was 3 Democrats that signed up for that, which is pretty sad.
Trump administration announced today new moves meant to crack down on care for transgender minors across the country. This morning,
Care
Department of Health
for
and Human Services
transgender minors.
Secretary
Notice
Robert F.
the
Kennedy
language.
Jr. unveiled the steps his department is taking. It includes barring hospitals that participate in Medicare and Medicaid from performing transition-related care.
It's not care if they're butchering children.
Divine worth in every person. It shines most brightly in our children. That worth commands us to protect them. And as long as I serve as HHS Secretary, this agency will do so.
Let's bring in NBC News medical reporter Erica Edwards. Erica, this is a new approach from the Trump administration in its efforts to limit treatment for children. Can you kind of explain
It's not new. He said
what
he was
they're
gonna do
doing to
that.
try to stop hospitals from allowing it?
Hey, Kate, yeah, this is really all about money. The Trump administration is using the most blatant language yet on its stance on transgender care. HHS wants to pull funding from hospitals that offer gender-affirming therapies like hormones or surgery to children and teenagers. Meanwhile, the number of transgender youth seeking medical care is actually quite small. One study showing less than 0.1% of 8 to 17-year-olds with private insurance are prescribed gender-affirming hormones, and a Harvard study found that the rate of teens going through gender-affirming surgery was also low, just 2.1 per 100,000. Kate?
Erica, the secretary was sort of framing it as we're protecting children. What are we
Yeah,
hearing
you
from
are. They
medical
are.
professionals, the
These
transgender
children should
community,
not be
and parents who
transitioning at a
make
young age.
decisions about seeking care for their kids?
Yeah, we spoke with a pediatrician in St. Louis who treats transgender youth. He said that there was absolutely no science behind what the administration is doing, and GLAAD, an LGBTQ legal advisory group, had this statement saying that parents witness every day how their children benefit from this care backed by decades of research and endorsed by
maybe the
major
parents need to
medical
be looked at
associations
too.
across the country. These proposed rules are not based on medical science; they are based on politics.
Hold on. Pause. The rules are not based on medical science. They're based on politics. And where is the science that says that gender-affirming care actually helps children? Where's the science? Because last time I checked, The European countries that were doing this before us are rolling that back now. So there is no science to prove that what you've been doing to children actually benefits children long term. All you're doing is butchering them, and you're saying that we should butcher them because they will kill themselves if we don't butcher them. What science does that prove? It's a lie. All this is doing is funding big pharma. It's hurting children. It's stopping them from actually figuring out what the hell they want. Most of these kids are just gay or lesbian, and they think that they're this other thing that they actually aren't. Like, listen, I've said before and I've said it again. I was with women I was a child at the time. So I was with girls for a long time. For, I don't know, a good chunk of my teens, I was with girls. And what I've experienced being with girls is that girls who literally have never been with a boy, never had a boyfriend, only been with girls, had a serious traumatic event in their life, usually with a man, an older man, if you get my drift. And that's what made them completely shut down from even giving a boy their attention, and only girls. I did not meet a lesbian that was a minor at the time when I was with girls that actually didn't have daddy issues, mommy issues, or some type of sexual molestation that happened to them as a child. All of them had something, or if not all those terrible experiences. And they happened to be solely lesbian, complete virgins, never been with a dude, ever, never kissed a guy, ever, because of those traumatic experiences they had in their life. Now, I'm not saying that, you know, when you are a minor and you are gay or lesbian, that, you know, that's the only reason why you are like that. But I am saying that my experience with girls is that. That's my experience. That's my anecdote. That's all I can say about it. I don't know. I can't say that, you know, all lesbians have a traumatic, because I don't know. I can't say that. But I can definitely say that in my experience of all the years that I was with girls, every single girl I was with had some type of issue. Even into adulthood. Same thing. So I can definitely now conclude that if a child is confused and thinks that they are the opposite sex, there is some type of traumatic event that happened to them that now they are associating themselves with the opposite sex and believing they're supposed to be that instead of accepting what God gave them. And a lot of reasons why we do not accept what God gave us is because we don't believe in God. And neither do our parents. If your parents are not telling you about God or how beautiful you are and your own skin and helping you become confident in your own skin, especially when you are a preteen where it's the most confusing time of your life. And I can definitely talk about that because, man, my teenage years were, well, I'm writing a book about it. That tells you enough. So I personally think parents need to talk to their kids more, because the reason why kids don't know what they are as far as sex is concerned, the most basic thing to know is, are you a boy or are you a girl? You're taught that at like 2 years old. My niece knows she's a girl. So there's no reason why a 10-year-old or an 8-year-old should be dissociated with what they are and think they want to be something else. The reason why they think that is because a parent is confirming that delusion. So the parent also has some type of mental trauma that they never dealt with. So this all goes back to what happened to the kid as far as trauma, and how can we treat it holistically without confirming the delusion the kid is actually going through, because it is a delusion. There is no such thing as trans children. And these sick people who are saying, oh, it's gender affirming treatment. No, it's not. It's butchery. It's criminal. It's just evil at its core. There's no reason why we should even pass a law to ban this. That's how ridiculous this is. This is common sense stuff. If you were to go back in the past, in the 2000s, and say, okay, oh, that trans kids are a thing, people will laugh and be like, that's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. But we're at a time right now where red is blue, blue is red, up is down, and down is up. Literally upside down world, clown world. And people like me, people that are just common sense people, need to just talk about this and be like, yeah, this is just wrong. There is no such thing as trans kids. If you want to be a trans, you need to be an adult. There's no reason why parents should be condoning this, and those who are there needs to be some type of, I don't know what there needs to be, honestly. I don't even know if it's legal to I don't know. But I do know that you can sue the school, sue the government who is allowing this to happen in their state. You can't sue the parent because, there is something as individual, rights, but you definitely should sue the government of that state if they're continuing to condone trans kids. Because at the end of the day, the government is at fault by even condoning this. If the government were to stop it at its tracks, parents would just let it go and act like parents. Because the government is saying, oh, this is perfectly okay. Parents are like, well, the government is saying it's okay, so it must be okay. Literally, that's what this is all about. So I think this is great. This is a step in the right direction. And again, there is no such thing as trans kids, and there's no such thing as radical Islam. Islam is radical. All right. Remember that. And we're going to end it with a little bit of freestyle because I am done for today. All right, guys. So Christmas is coming, and I know a lot of people don't like to say Merry Christmas, but I do because, this is a Christian country, even though it's not literally a Christian country. The majority of people are Christian and Catholic. So if I don't do a live next week, Merry Christmas. Please be safe. Spend it with your family. This is the time to spend time with family, especially now more than ever when things are so tense, when there's so much confusion going around, when we're being attacked on all fronts. We are going through a spiritual war right now. Like, this is happening. And after Charlie Kirk's assassination, it's more evidence that we are at war. And I said it on my Instagram. Follow me, Mary_Truths on Instagram, TikTok, and X. We are at war. And some people might say, well, you using that language is condoning violence. No, I'm using that language because that's how I feel, and I have a right to say that. We need to speak up more. We should not be afraid to say what we think out loud, and we need to say the quiet part out loud. This is a Christian country. This is a country that believes in God, and there's only one God. So any other God that is a false God, there's only one. And under God is Jesus Christ. And you can believe Jesus Christ could be a man. To me, it's consciousness. At the end of the day, we believe in Christ, and that's what matters. That's what brings everybody together. No matter where you come from, no matter what language you speak in, we all believe in Christ. That's what matters. So please be safe. If I don't see you next week,